Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. I'm Jeff Bidwell. Glad you are with us today. Quick programming note, we will not be with you on Friday, as obviously Independence Day, as everybody will be off. Hopefully, you will be off enjoying time with family and friends and not being bothered by my nonsense on a Friday. So we'll be back again coming up on Monday morning. Glad you are with us, joining us here in about 10 minutes. He is the Valley Hoops insider, Harry Schroeder. He will be joining us. Lots to talk to. Last couple of weeks, he's gotten a chance to sit down with the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference. We have also Jeff Jackson. He has talked to the new head coach at Drake as well, Eric Henderson. And so going to get his thoughts on those conversations and pick his brain on some other things as well. If you haven't done so already, please head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our program there. Just search out Morning in the Valley. Full episodes, interview clips, the whole 9 yards there, and really help us out, continue to grow this show. If you can just slip on over to YouTube and subscribe to us. All right, headlines of the day. And I was maybe hoping, I don't know what the general appetite is. I feel like I have a general feel for it. I'm not fully 100% have my sort of thumb on the pulse, if you will, of the general public's appetite for more house settlement talk. But here we are. I was hoping on Monday, with it being the last day, that schools had to make the decision whether they were opting in or out for the 2025-26 season. Maybe that would be the end of it, and that lasted all the way until the opening moments of today's show. And we are back at it one more time. The news of the week, again, June 30th. It was originally June 15th. The deadline to opt in or out pushed back to June 30th. That was Monday. Schools had the option to opt in or out of the house settlement. Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger reporting 319 of the Division I schools have opted in. That's 319 out of 364, 365, depending on what your rough math is. But basically 82% is the number came up that have opted in. Again, when you look at the reasons not to opt in, and I think there has not been a comprehensive list put together. I'm sure it will, as every school eventually makes their sort of public proclamation of, hey, we're in for this reason, we're out for that reason. You will get the list, and we will get to see the schools that did not. If I can probably paint with a broad brush here, but my feeling is going to be that if you look at the schools that did not opt in, I think you're going to see that the majority of those schools are going to fall under two camps. One, either very small Division I schools, or two, they are schools with that are private schools as well. Which and those two probably are intertwined on some level. Just small private schools. In that the roster restrictions that will eventually happen, the roster limits, which again there are caps on roster limits, but Judge Claudia Wilkin said we can't enact those immediately. The kids that are already on rosters, you have to let them finish their careers and sort of grandfather in everybody else. So basically within 2 to 3 years, you will have these roster caps. And there's just so many instances, especially for the non-revenue sports, that you have kids on rosters that are either walk-ons, partial scholarships, whatever, that they boost enrollment at the university, and they are sort of necessary for the greater good of the university, that they just couldn't, from a university platform, go, you know what, we don't need those extra 30 kids on our football team to help our enrollment numbers, or the extra 20 kids in running cross country, whatever it may be. But in totality, going, yep, that's not going to work for us. So again, deadline was Monday. Next year, and moving forward, and this was the part I got into some fine print that schools can opt in or out year by year moving forward for the next 10 years until this house settlement has fully worked itself through. But in years moving forward, schools will have to decide by March whether they are ultimately going to be in or out. We have talked about the who's in, who's out in the Valley, and so far, leading into the week, we had public proclamations from Murray State, Belmont, Southern Illinois, Drake, Evansville, and then Indiana State was sort of a quasi in, as we heard from Matthew Graves last week on a local radio show in Terre Haute, saying that they were opting in. So that was 6. Still 5 others to go until we get Illinois State, who has decided to opt in. They made their public proclamation. Their athletic director, Jerry Biggs, writing a letter to the Redbird Nation there on Monday saying they are in. I think the big part in this fancy graphic, as much as anything, is just saying that their NIL collective, Drake talked about they weren't shutting down the collective, but it was basically going dormant, is that the collective was going to stay alive, Illinois State. And as we've talked about on this program, Illinois State, along with Bradley, they have gone through sort of I don't know that the collective has changed as much as it's become refocused a little bit, and that they're really going to try to take this collective and really hammer women's basketball with it, since the revenue sharing is most likely the vast majority going to men's basketball, maybe football as well. But the collective now really going to go towards women's hoops. The one school, now, again, I have done 15 seconds of Googling this morning just to see if I have missed anything. I have to imagine before it is all said and done that you are going to have schools, every school in the country has going to have to make some sort of public proclamation to their fan bases of, are we in or are we out? And so far, again, we have heard from Murray State, Belmont, SIU, Drake, Evansville, and kind of Indiana State. We haven't heard from Bradley, haven't heard from Northern Iowa. We have heard from Illinois State now, haven't heard from UIC, and we haven't heard from Valparaiso. Again, I will just about bet a toe that Bradley and Northern Iowa are in. Got to believe UIC's in. And Valpo, right now, we haven't heard anything. I feel like the word on the street is they are out, but I was looking this morning, and I just Googled house settlement and Valpo, and this popped up on their website, and a house settlement FAQ coming soon. So what does that mean? We don't know. But I'm just going to be probably in the end shocked if they don't opt in. Obviously, small private school. How's that going to play into things? Don't know. They've got a big football roster, has to help with enrollment at the university. But we will hopefully get that public proclamation from the university and from Valpo here coming up in the very near future. Evansville doing some unique work in terms of fundraising. And look, I respect the hustle. They're just going to straight 50-50 raffles. And they've announced you can buy tickets for their 50-50 raffles at evansvillehalfpot.com. They're doing sort of a summer raffle through July and August. And it's like every sporting event you've ever been to. You put money in the pot. At the end, whatever's left, the winner gets half. The other half's going to go to the, it goes to the Purple Aces Club, sort of an overriding umbrella to their athletic department. It's just going into revenue share. That's going to be it. And so, it's one thing, and I think this is a unique way to attack it. There's so many times when you ask, you're asking people to give. And there's always kind of that component with people about, what are they getting back? And yeah, I suppose the sort of intangible to all of it is, well, I'm hoping that I'm giving and my athletic program is going to be able to win. And won't that be great? But hey, in this instance, hey, maybe you can, donate $10, maybe you win a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, maybe a couple thousand, whatever it may be. Maybe that entices some folks to give in a different way to the Evansville program and Ziggy Siegfried. And look, every athletic director in the country trying to find unique ways to raise money for their athletic funds and departments for this revenue share in this new era. And Evansville is going the 50-50 route. And I don't hate it. In fact, I kind of love it. So good on them for that. All right. Time to welcome in our guest, and we are going to bring in, he is the Valley Hoops insider. He is Harry Schroeder, and Commissioner Schroeder, glad to have you this morning. To pull back the curtain just a bit, we have been trying to get Harry on the program here for several weeks, and Harry has had the audacity to spend his summers working with hundreds of teenagers in the St. Louis area, trying to better their lives and enrich their lives, and has found that to be more important than coming on this program. And so, Harry, if you could just explain yourself, why it's been so important to be an A+ human being instead of coming on this show. You don't have to explain. We're happy you have been able to find a couple minutes to join us this morning.
Glad to do it. I watched the show the other day, and when you had Joey on, and I thought, this is interesting. You had Joey on talking about bourbon and cigars, and you're having me on today talking about Jesus Camp. I like the wide range that you can go, Jeff.
Hey, man, fill every demographic lane we can here to try to we're building a village. We're building a village. However you got to do it. You have had an opportunity last couple weeks to talk to the commissioner, Jeff Jackson. Just the other day, talk with Eric Henderson and Drake. We'll get to Coach Henderson in a minute, I guess, as we continue to beat this House settlement drum I was probably naively optimistic we would be able to kind of put it to bed on Monday when we got to the deadline, but I know it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Thinking back, I guess, just from your conversation and maybe had some time to marinate in it a little bit, where do you feel like the Valley is right now in sort of this as a whole? And we haven't had anyone officially step up and say we are out. And so until otherwise, look, everybody's in until they're out. But where do you feel like the Valley is as a whole with this rev share that has officially begun as of yesterday?
Well, I'm not smart, but Commissioner Jackson is, and he feels like the House settlement and the opting in for the teams is a very positive thing. He feels like it can kind of settle some of the issues. And I don't know if you lost me there for a second or I lost you, but anyway, he feels like it's very positive. And the thing that helped me, Jeff, we hear all the numbers and the 20 point whatever and the 2 point whatever, the 22%, all the different numbers. And he said the 22% actually is kind of it's a backdoor math equation. When you add up scholarship benefits and all that, the other 22% is what brings the athletes up to maybe about 50%, which is kind of what a lot of the pro leagues are giving to their athletes. And so he feels like that's a good place and a good number. Nobody believes a Valley school is going to be giving $20 million to their athletes across the board. But he feels like it helps normalize things for the programs. And what we're seeing in a lot of the programs is they're taking over the NIL part of it as well. And it's all going to funnel through one place. And I think you mentioned the other day on your show that a lot of those things now will become tax deductible that maybe they weren't before. So I think it does help, particularly schools like the Missouri Valley Conference.
I feel like, and it's something that's gone a little bit underreported because I don't think we have a proof of concept yet, is that once the NCAA sent out sort of the FAQ to everybody and all the membership, is there is now an opportunity for multi-year contracts with this revenue share. And the most significant portion of that is contractual buyouts to that. And that the poacher that comes in and pulls your best player and takes him to wherever in the ACC, Big Ten, SEC, they have to pay the poachee that money. And yeah, it's going to stink that maybe you lose your best player, but let's just say, hey, our salary cap at Bradley is, we're just going to say $2 million. Well, maybe we've attached $1 million price tag on a buyout player for a buyout. Well, now we have $3 million to go at it next year. And the poacher has that million counts against their 20.5. So that kind of brings them back down a little. It doesn't close the gap, but it certainly, it narrows a little bit. And again, from just it just puts a few more bullets in the proverbial gun. It feels like, to be able to give you a fighting chance.
Yeah, and I think a little differently than that, Jeff. I agree with you, but I think that those big programs, they're not going to sniff at that money. But it does give you some assets after you've lost someone, and right. So I think that's really helpful, and it maybe gives them pause before they take that player, because it is going to cost them. They're going to have, a lot of those schools have endless money. It doesn't matter. They're not limited to the 20 million. That, they can do more with the NIL kind of opportunities. But maybe it gives them pause because they will have some kind of budget restraints, and it does help you. And so I think that the schools are being aggressive. You were talking to Joey the other day about what Indiana State's doing, and a number of the schools have just really ramped up their fundraising in ways that people can see tangibly. Oh, I'm actually contributing to the players and the program. And I think it's going to be a net positive for the Valley and for the programs.
You're not competing with the Power Fours. We know that. But maybe the most significant part of, hey, we go from 2 million to 3 million. Now we're competing maybe better with the Mountain West. Now we're competing better closer to the Big East schools, where you're trying to get those getting into those outside the top four program leagues that can get the multi bids, and maybe we've got a better chance. You declined the opportunity, and I very much appreciate it, because I believe I declined as well, talking to the commissioner about expansion. Missouri State 48 hours ago officially walked out of the Missouri Valley to go to Conference USA. Your boots on the ground in the greater St. Louis area. Any word on the street, anything about, obviously this year it's come and gone, but 26, 27 and beyond, is there a 12th that makes sense out there, or is just 11, as Jeff Jackson said last summer? I'm good with 11 if we got to stay there.
Yeah, I think we're stuck there, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think we're stuck there for now. And he always says to me, "Well, we're always trying to be available. We're always trying to be attractive." Those kinds of things, and I think the league will continue to do that. When you see a team like Texas State go to the Pac-12 and Chicago State, or they're in like 4 leagues or something, there's always going to be some people that will move. But and I think the Valley's uniquely positioned. I think the programs are really strong right now, Jeff. I mean, even some of the programs that we viewed as maybe less attractive or whatever, you see real growth at Evansville. You mentioned Valport. They're going to opt in or opt out. I don't know. I think they're probably the weakest program, but you see signs of life there as well. So I think the league is positioned in a nice place. And it seems like, you talked about poachers. It seems like the Valley routinely poaches from the Horizon League. So, there might be some Horizon League team there that will be here next year that I can't imagine right now. But no, I think for now, obviously for this year, but I think even next year, to see whether or not they wanted to do something different.
Survival of the fittest, I guess, is the food chain. That's the poachers eat us, and then we eat the folks below us as well. It appears that Pete Thamel from ESPN reporting within maybe the next 2 weeks, we will finally get an official ruling on NCAA tournament expansion for as early as March of 26, of whether we go from 68 to 72 or to 76. Look, I'm not dumb enough to think that if whatever the new number is, that those spots are all going to mid-majors. I'm sort of torn on this I feel like the field of 64 is perfect. It's always been. I'm traditionalist in that way, but I also understand the dollars and cents of all of this. I'm going to be, the old man in me is going to be annoyed if it goes to 76, but then I'm trying to balance that out with, maybe that opens the door, and there's a couple slots for mid-majors that the Valley can get a second, God willing, a third, maybe at some point again. Where do you fall right now? If are you going to, how much pearl clutching are you doing if we get to 72 or 76 here in a couple of weeks?
Honestly, Jeff, not at all. I think I'm with you. I think 64 is what's magical for the casual fan and for the brackets and all of that. And if it takes them one extra day to get to that, because we make Dayton and St. Louis 2 places where programs can go, and they play one extra game to get there, and they all become 15s and 16s or something in the bracket, I don't care. The 64 is what matters. And if they add up to 76, yeah, you might see 1 or 2 more mid-majors. We know mostly it's going to be team 15 and 16 and 17 from the Southeastern Conference. But I used to be really hardcore about that, and I've given up the ghost on that one. I just think once we get to 64, that's what matters. And if it opens the door for other programs, I think that's actually worthwhile.
I got a chance to listen, and I don't know if this came. You're busy changing lives, and I don't know if you've been as online here in recent weeks. But Ben McCollum, head coach, obviously at Iowa now, was at Drake, was on John Rothstein's podcast, and they were talking about scheduling. And I want to play this for you and get your reaction to Ben McCollum's discussion here with John Rothstein about scheduling.
I think that trying to make sure that your net rankings is good. I know that Drake and you and I want us to play them every single year, and it's like, well, if you reward the net, then I'm sure we would play you. But right. There's no reward to playing a mid-major that's going to be a quad 2 or some of them quad 1s. And so for us, playing Power 5 competition obviously early is good, and then making sure that you get enough home games or neutral floor games with your quad threes, quad fours to really improve your net is probably the objective.
Okay, there's a lot going on there. Listen, he's got like 9 sides of his mouth. It felt like he was talking out of right there. That I understand Iowa doesn't want to go to Des Moines. I understand they don't want to go to Cedar Falls. I get all of that entirely. I feel like all we've heard forever is you want to play quad ones, you want to play quad twos, or you want to play quad sevens. Like there's, that's kind of how you want to do it. And for him to say, it doesn't help us to play mid majors that could be quad twos or quad ones. It was like, well, isn't that the whole point? Is if you take the mid major part about it, that's what you want. And I was like, yeah, he just doesn't want to play in-state schools and possibly lose. Is that how you read that?
Well, that's the way it is across the country. Mizzou won't play St. Louis U. They won't play Missouri State. Here in my state, Illinois is a little bit more aggressive. They'll take on some of the local powers, local state schools and so forth. But they don't want to do it because if they lose the game, it's disaster. Right? The sky is falling. How could Missouri lose to Missouri State? And it's the end of the world. The reality is for like Missouri Valley schools. And I've listened to a lot of your podcasts and talking about, let's schedule a bunch of 350 teams to come into Murray State. Who wants to go to that game? I think you're, the old cut off your nose to spite your face thing. So I've got a better net rating, but nobody's coming to my game because I don't want to see you play East Toenail State. I don't care. And then you beat them and then I don't care. It's just not, it doesn't matter. And so I think this thing has to change. And I don't know that it will. It seems like every 2 or 3 years, the NCAA either adjusts it, tweaks it, or changes it. I think the RPI was far better because it actually looked at records. It's what you did on the court. You beat a team that had a good record or you didn't. But that's just me, spitting in the wind right now. But the net is, I think, so flawed. I think it has adjusted and changed and gotten worse, not better.
Your East Toenail State merchandise available at valleyhoopsinsider.com later this week. I guess the part that surprises me from Coach McCollum is he's been in the high Division I major airspace for about 7 minutes, and he's already been sort of indoctrinated into we're not playing them. Just coming from the D2 ranks for so long and being a Drake, and he didn't even dance. There wasn't that, well, if it works out, maybe we can pop. I was like, this just isn't happening.
No, and nobody does it. I mean, Darren DeVries didn't do it. Greg McDermott doesn't do it. I mean, they don't. And they've looked at the bottom line too. Like I said, bad press if you lose. And maybe that 125 net ranking team that Northern Iowa will be, they could be better than that. But I'm saying if they're 125 and you beat them, it doesn't help you. And, with the current stats.
You got a chance to catch up with Coach Eric Henderson, the current head coach at Drake, on the road recruiting. What was your grand takeaway from your first conversation with Coach Hendo?
Well, you've talked to him. I mean, he is full of energy and full of passion, and he loves everybody. And you can see why he's successful. 120 wins and maybe like 65 or something like that losses there. At South Dakota State. But he's a builder, right? And I really like that about him. And I like the way he goes about things. He's a little old school in the sense that they've got a lot of freshmen. They've got a lot of transfers too, but they've got a lot of freshmen. And he wants to build, layer classes and those kinds of things. I think he's going to be successful. Obviously, he's already been successful everywhere he's been. What's most impressed me about him is he doesn't seem like he's looking past you to the next job. He really wants to achieve and accomplish right where he's at. Is the phrase about, being where your feet are, really, symbolizes what he's all about. And I love that. I did ask him to call out, McCollum and DeVries, like, or McDermott, dog them, challenge their manhood. And he said that's not the way he rolls, but I'm trying, Jeff. I'm just trying.
He is part of the Greg McDermott coaching tree, which, is now ever expanding in the Valley. Ryan Miller, obviously, coached with him at Creighton. Ben Jacobson as well. What from your seat, being around this league as long as you have been, what is sort of it's been a while since Coach McDermott's been in this league, but what is sort of the lasting thumbprint he has left on this league?
I think what he does is he treats people with respect. All those guys you talk to Darren DeVries, or who's now gone, but Coach Henderson and Coach Jacobson and the different ones. I haven't met Coach Miller yet. The different ones. McDermott is such a guy that respects the people around him, gives them opportunity to grow and to grow into their roles, and he gives them a lot of responsibility. But when Coach McDermott was in the league, respectful, serious, but didn't take himself too serious, gave his assistants plenty of opportunities. I remember when Ben Jacobson took over at Northern Iowa, Jake had 3x5 cards in his pocket and timeouts, and he would be looking at his cards. And obviously he doesn't do that anymore because he's memorized everything there is to know about basketball. But he was just like Mac. I mean, he was, just very sober on the sidelines, and so he empowers people. And I love that. And that's what, you talked about our camp. That's what we're trying to do at our camp, is empower young people. And I love that about Coach Mack. And you see that in all these guys, when they land, they're ready. A lot of guys, you'll see some coaching trees, the twig goes out there and it crumbles, right? And it doesn't happen with McDermott's guys. And so obviously Coach Henderson was with Mac, earlier, but I do think that's what you see. You see that his respect is he's a cerebral guy, and he understands, X's and O's, but he understands people and how to treat them.
Again, painting with broad brushes. I feel like that the Valley has been sort of painted as a physical league, sort of the Big Ten light, if you will. And as you were talking with Coach Henderson, comparing the Summit League to the Missouri Valley, he's like, well, it's a physical league, probably a little more physical than we're used to. But you have seen success from teams like a Indiana State, for instance, 2 years ago, with Josh Schertz. Man, they got up and down and they went. Ryan Miller coming in from Creighton, he's like, we are going to get up and down and we're going to shoot a lot of threes and score a lot of points at Murray State. From your again, time covering this league, is there a benefit to zagging when everybody zigs and maybe it's like, okay, this is a physical league, we got to go get physical and we've got to be tough because we've got to man up against these teams? Or, you know what, let's just go try to outrun some guys and try to outscore them rather than go. Do you see that benefit?
Well, you saw it right there in Murray State with Coach Turner in the women's program.
Yeah.
They made a shift. I think that the league in general, I should have studied this, but the league in general, the pace of play has picked up over the last several years, and Coach Schertz was a big part of that. And then we saw it at Southern Illinois. They radically changed their pace of play a year ago, and I think you're going to see it at Murray this year. And Coach Henderson's going to try to play a little bit more up tempo as well. Last year at Drake was an anomaly. I think McCollum ran that program based on this is who I've got. I asked him about it, and I said, man, when you were at D2, you were scoring 100 points a game. And he said, well, you coach to what you have. And so I do think that the pace of play across the league has picked up over the last 2-3 years, and Josh Schertz was a big part of that. But each of these new coaches has a little bit different view on that. And even Coach Jacobson at Northern Iowa is playing more up tempo than he used to. So I think it is bigger and more physical than like the Summit and some other leagues, but the pace of play is also picking up, and they're looking for those guys that can really get up and down.
Well, my last question, Harry, we saw earlier this week, Matt Brown over at the Extra Points newsletter putting out there that EA Sports bringing back college basketball, the video game, for, I guess, the 2028-29 season, still very much in development. And of all a lot of excitement. We saw all the SID graphical departments popping out their team on the cover of the game and so on. Of all the voices I heard chirping about, I can't believe I have to wait 3 years to play this game, I'm all excited. Harry Schroeder, Father Harry 1 on the old X machine, pops in and says, I hope I'm still alive when I get a chance to play this game. I was unaware that you were like Captain Gamer over there. Are we you already got the order in for pre-Christmas order for 28?
Listen, if I can get a machine, I'm getting the game, but I don't know, my thumbs will work by then. 3 years seems like forever. Right. And I think it'd be great when they had it, back when they used to have it, but you couldn't put names in it. There was a black market where you could upload all the names and numbers, and we did it at my house, me and my kids, and I'd run the whole Valley season. And it's about I can play sports games. If any of those other games that things move around, I can't do it.
Well, as the other old man in the room here, I was so excited when the college football game came out, and I sat down with it, my son's Xbox, and I played for about 4 minutes, and I was like, I think this has passed me by, but I am willing to give it a go. Although 3 more years from now, hopefully my mental faculties will still be sharp enough to give me a fighting chance. Harry Schroeder, he's the Valley Hoops insider. Go check out his interviews with both Drake head coach Eric Henderson and the commissioner Jeff Jackson over at valleyhoopsinsider.com. Continue to do the Lord's work, sir. Good luck with your camps this summer, and we will badger you again soon enough.
Look forward to it, Jeff. Always love being on your thing. I love what you're doing for the league. So thanks.
I appreciate you, Harry. Thank you. All right, there is the Valley Hoops insider, Harry Schroeder. As he said, I tried to get him on a couple of times, and he was like, man, I'm swamped. And I was like, oh, you're actually doing important things instead of sitting here with me blathering on about whatever. So glad he's able to carve out a little time here. It's 4th of July week. Everybody's kind of off most of the programs. This kind of a window of time that it's like, go home, do whatever you need to do. Coaches were out recruiting last weekend, have the 4th of July, come back, and then we're off and running for the rest of the month. All right, back to other news and notes from the morning. We've got scheduling news to pass along as Southern Illinois, our friend Rocco Miller, announcing that Southern Illinois will be playing at Memphis the day before Thanksgiving on November the 26th. This is, we talk about playing quad 1, quad 2s. We talk about playing quad 7 teams. This is the quad 1 opportunity for the Salukis to go on the road and play Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers. Memphis 29-6 last year. I believe they were a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. They were 54 in the KenPom. With Penny Hardaway as the head coach, Memphis has been in the KenPom ratings 54, 76, 20, 24, 31, 59, 56. It's going to be a top 75 game, which makes it on the road a quad 1 opportunity for the Salukis. When you look at right now, the main thing that popped up when this announcement came out, November 26th, day before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is generally that's MTE week. And I was like, well, to play on Wednesday, and it's a standalone road game. And then I'm looking through the D1 docket on X that's got everybody's non-conference schedules. And I was like, I don't see any MTEs. It sounds like there's still one it's coming for SIU. There's been some behind-the-scenes changes. Hopefully they'll get that scheduled. But again, according to the D1 docket right now, SIU has 6 games, only 1 home game, and that's the home and home with Kansas City we talked about on Monday. 5 road games at Nevada, North Dakota State, High Point, Richmond, and now Memphis. Still 5 games to go. A chunk of those will come supposedly from this MTE, whether it's 2 or 3, and then the rest will be home games. But hopefully we'll start seeing some home slots filled on that Southern Illinois non-conference schedule. Want to quickly talk about some Southern Illinois royalty, some former Salukis that are moving on up in the coaching profession, as we have Kyle Smith-Peters, played for the Salukis from 2004 to 2006, a couple of NCAA tournament teams, spent 1 year as an assistant coach at Missouri State, 10 years as the head coach at John A. Logan College, just down the road from Carbondale. He's now in his 4th year at Missouri. Yesterday, he was promoted to associate head coach there for the Tigers. And Brad Korn, another former Saluki, part of that run with Bruce Weber and Matt Painter, 1999 to 2004, got to the Sweet 16 in 02, tournament in 03 and 04 as well. Head coach at SEMO, just finished his 5th year, got the Red Hawks to the NCAA tournament in 23, first outright Ohio Valley Conference championship back in March, has signed a 5-year extension that will keep him a new 5-year contract, an extension, the contract that ran through 27 now goes all the way through 2030. So congratulations to Coach Brad Korn, as he is extended there in Cape Girardeau. On the women's side, this one's been kind of in the works and finally officially announced, as Lisa Carlson has been named an assistant coach for the Bulldogs. Allison Pullman making that official yesterday. Carlson has she's been a head coach 3 different times. The last 10 years, she's been the head coach at Northern Illinois. She is also the mom of Lexi Carlson, who was a freshman at Northern Illinois last year and is now going to be a sophomore at Drake. So maybe a package deal. All works out nonetheless for both, as they have both found a landing spot there in Des Moines with the Bulldogs. Northern Iowa has announced the hiring of assistant coach Amelia Bromenschneckel, who is just out of college, just finished up a 5-year career at Fort Wayne, scored 1,500 points there, a 3-time All-Horizon standout, top 10 all-time in the program's history in points and rebounds. And head coach Tanya Warren has hired Bromenschneckel as a assistant coach there with UNI. The beat keeps rolling this morning as assistant coach hirings. And I don't know if this is the start of the fiscal year and we're firing out July 1, all the official new postings. Isaiah Tisdale is heading over to Terre Haute to join Matthew Graves' staff. The final staff vacancy filled, I guess, there at Indiana State with Coach Graves. Tisdale most recently was on staff at Garden City Community College over in Garden City, Kansas, was most recently the interim head coach there. Prior to that, he was the player development coach at East Tennessee State, spent some time as a grad assistant at Wake as well. So the staff now filled, finally, at Indiana State, as Matthew Graves and his folks have already been at work. But now that the calendar flips officially to the 25-26 fiscal year, the staff is now filled with Isaiah Tisdale. All right, couple other scheduling notes. This one from Peoria, Alex Rusinski on Twitter, posting that on X, Elon X. Bradley will host Central Michigan. That will be Saturday of the opening week of the season on November the 8th. The guarantee, Rusinski reporting $90,000 to bring the Chippewas into Peoria. This is a team, again, quad 1, quad 2, quad 7. They're closer to the quad 7 end. Last year they were 198 in the KenPom, but you look at their last 5 years, 277, 334, 318, 281. So maybe trending in the right direction. They've had a coaching change there. Bart Torvik, with the projections looking ahead to this season, has them as 272. So that's a team that, if Bradley can take care of business, that can spin things forward in a positive way for them in the net. And Valparaiso, another Alex Rusinski report, Valparaiso, which we can presume is the front end of a home and home, as they will bring in North Carolina Wilmington on December the 13th. UNCW was an NCAA tournament team a year ago, 105 in the KenPom. The Torvik projections this year at 118. So that's a good game to bring in for probably will end up falling into that quad 3 range, playing them at home. But for Valpo, that is a good test. UNCW is usually at least pretty good on any given years, up to very good. And, you can get them in that. Maybe when the dust settles, they end up being a top 100 game for you for Valpo, but a good test right before Christmas. And that's right around the time when conference play starts. We still don't have the official dates yet for when those 2 pre-Christmas games are going to be played on the men's side. If it's going to be, coaches talk, and sometimes they don't necessarily care about choosing where it's not important really to them about when you're listening to parsing every word they say. And it's like kind of say, well, the middle of the month, or, is it truly the middle of the month in December? You're going to get those 2 games, or is it going to be like we saw in 23 and 24, when those 2 games were usually like the last weekend in November, first weekend in December type of thing. But either way, a good non-conference test for the Beacons and Roger Powell's bunch as UNCW comes in. And then when Valpo, we presume, will return that game in 26-27, just know, look, it'll be November. I'm sure it's not going to be awesome. There's still a beach like a mile from campus. So you've got that going for you over there in Wilmington, North Carolina. All right. That does it for today's edition of Morning in the Valley. I want to thank Harry Schroeder for being on with us today. If you haven't done so already, please go to YouTube. Search out Morning in the Valley and subscribe to the program there. Like, share, comment. You leave us comments during the show, whether you're on X or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you may be listening. We'll try to answer those. If we can't get to them during the show, try to answer them after. But appreciate everybody for being here. But if you subscribe to us, like, share, comment, all that stuff, it helps the show continue to grow and get into those algorithm hamster wheels and get us out in front of some more eyeballs. Again, we will not be with you on Friday. It is July the 4th. And so we will be spending our day with friends and family. Hope you will be doing the same. Have a good weekend. We will be back next Monday. I believe, looking at my schedule, Jevin Redmond, the radio voice for the Evansville Purple Aces, will be with us on Monday. Indiana State Guard Camp Wagner will be with us on Wednesday as well. And that's all the pre-planning we have done a week out. But hope you'll be with us next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Glad you're with us today. And one more time, thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.